Happy Friday. I bet you guys missed Matt Suter's live. Happy Friday, as he does every single Friday at New Visions Books and Gifts. We are actually have him off today, but we're excited that you guys are joining us for another fourth Friday live online Friday Night Forum. For those of you who are joining us live, I want to thank you. If you are new to the holistic community, either to New Visions Books and Gifts or to Firefly Hollow, we want to welcome you. And to just share a little bit of background about what we're doing tonight, just so you're aware, New Visions Books and Gifts has been in business for 34 years. We're here in South Central Pennsylvania. And every single Friday night for the past 34 years, we have done a Friday Night Forum at 7 o'clock in-house in our physical location at Eastern Boulevard. And of course, with the event of COVID, we are doing things online now for the time being, and we're just doing one a month. And as again, the fourth Friday Night Forum of the month, that is today. And of course, we are still taking donations for that. We usually took a $5 donation for that Friday Night Forum that went to the bookstore. And at this time, it is actually going to a scholarship fund. So for people who are in need of holistic services in the South Central PA area, or even if you are not local and need them online remotely, we are taking donations for that. So I'll give you some information about that in a little bit. But first, I want to just significantly give you a little bit of a difference between the two places, just so you're aware. New Visions Books and Gifts, again, open since 1987 this year. We have books, crystals, gifts, jewelry, and all things you need for your metaphysical unconscious living needs. And then Firefly Hollow Wellness, we are the service and the classes end of the holistic community here with massage and acupuncture. We have energy medicine, nutrition, all that fun stuff. And we are in South York. So I always want to let people know the difference just so they don't get us confused. But again, we are here representing both places and also bringing in the amazing community that we have here in South Central PA, the amazing community of holistic practitioners, service providers. And tonight we have a very special guest, Lana Ryder. She has been in the holistic community for a very long time. She is one of our elders. She is one of these people that has so much wisdom and carries so much that we can learn from. And tonight I am very excited to introduce her. And Lana, welcome to your first ever maybe live Friday Night Forum, right? I know you've been with us before, but tell us about yourself if we're new and we haven't met you before.
Okay, yes. Well, thank you for having me here on Friday Night Forum. I actually have spoken at maybe 4 or 5 of them over the years, starting way back on Belvedere Street in New York with Bill and Bob. So they gave me lots of opportunities to speak about sound healing, and I'll always be grateful for that and appreciate what they've done in the community. So I have been using my voice for teaching and speaking and singing for a long time. I started singing in high school, and I studied voice lessons then and continued on a few years later as a young adult. And there's so much that I could say. I started studying holistic medicine. Well, herbal medicine was my first official holistic class back when I was 18. And that's a long time ago. And then I worked in the allopathic medical field for 25 years before getting into the holistic field. And now I'm in that for 26, 27 years. So I guess my first official role in the holistic community was as a massage therapist. Mm-hmm. And then I taught at 2 area massage schools, and I had a holistic healing center. At one point in time, I had a gospel music ministry. I traveled around singing solos at a bunch of different churches through the Mid-Atlantic region and did a couple recordings. And then I was also a worship music director at 2 area Christian churches. So I've come a long way since then, evolved and grown, and continue to study and learn. And how I got into using my voice in the holistic arena was that I knew that the voice was healing. Looking back, there were times when I would be singing a solo or be the special music at a certain church event, and people would come up to me all the time and afterwards and say, wow, the message was really good, but it was your song that really got to me and really spoke to me. So, I mean, I knew for a long time that there was the healing power in the voice, and not just in singing, but of course in speaking and whatever even what we write, our voice, in written form. So I decided to take a sound healing class back in 1999, and also helped to get the WellSpan Center for Mind Body Health off the ground. I was in on the first, well, before we opened, and going to the meetings there and all of that. And they brought in Dr. Mitch Gaynor, who was chief of oncology at Strang Cancer Center and taught at Cornell University. But he was using the metal bowls and also crystal bowls in working with his oncology patients, as well as some dietary changes. And that just showed me that here is a way I can use sound. Here's a way I can use music besides just having my clients lay on the table and listen to pretty music, which is healing. The entrainment that takes place when you're listening to slow, relaxing music is very real. But this was more of a hands-on thing. And so that's what got me into sound healing. And then as I progressed along and learned more with sound healing, one time, this is about 10 years ago, I was at home doing some work, listening to some music on the computer, and I heard this amazing song. It was instrumental, and I had to just put down and stop what I was doing. And I got up and I stood in the middle of the room and I just started singing, I am. And then these words came out of my mouth and I was like, oh, I'm singing in tongues. Oh, I don't know if that's good. But it happened. It just happened. It didn't, it was so natural. So then I connected, I'll cut out a bunch of stuff. So I connected with a woman online who was friends with a friend of mine, Jill Matson.
Yeah.
And Jill and I did a radio show together a few times. But through Jill, I knew this other woman who she talked to me about this singing in light language. And so from there, I just did a lot of it privately. And of course, in using sound, my sound meditations at home. Well, one time I was working on a client. It was a massage client, but also getting some sound therapy at the end. And I was like, I felt this. I was like, what? And it was like, sing. I was like, sing. Here's a client laying on the table. I'm going to sing to him. No way. I'm not shy about singing, but that just was like, no. But it was like, sing. So I was like, well, what do I sing? But so there I am, and I'm okay. So, and I remember this client's name, and so I just started kind of like toning, and then next thing I knew, her name was coming out in a long, drawn out way. Well, and she started crying, wow. And I said, "Are you okay? I know that was a little unusual." She said, "That's the most beautiful thing that I've ever experienced." And I didn't know what to say. So I knew this path to using my voice more for healing and in a healing ministry that was going to happen. Well, then it happened during a group sound immersion a few years ago. And I know people that know me, they think, well, I don't have any trouble getting up and doing this and teaching and singing in front of people. And For the most part, I don't. But there I was, all these people laying on the floor, and I don't remember what I was doing. Oh, I had the frame drum, and I was holding the frame drum, and it was like, sing. Oh no, not again. So I took the frame drum and I sang. I used it for amplification. One of my mentors used the frame drum for amplification for his banjo playing, and so I did that. I thought, okay, I'll do that. So I started just singing. I just let it come forth. Well, Kara, so many people came up afterwards and they said how much that meant to them. They said, I loved all the instruments, but it was your voice.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
From there, it's really evolved and grown. I've started studying a lot more what the voice can do, not just with singing to people, but about the light language and gematria and Sanskrit, Kabbalah, all the different ways that healing and these codes come into us. And I'm a skeptic.
Yes, we talk about that a lot. We're both very, very skeptical and grounded in that aspect. But I'm curious of what your definition of light language is, because I feel like if someone's new to that, they're like, "What is that?"
For me, and if you talk to anyone who practices that, you may get different answers. But I think basically all would pretty much agree that it comes from soul. It comes from the light. It comes from a place that is not, it bypasses ego. It comes to us as a way of communication with our deepest inner self. It comes forth from our inner kingdom. I call it our inner kingdom voice. Mm-hmm. Some people who sing in light language or speak in light language or draw or dance or paint, whatever, they will say they're channeling from some other place, and that's okay. I don't feel that way. I just feel that it comes through me from the many lives that I've lived. It's ancient technology coming through. I'm a big fan of ancient aliens. Anybody else?
Yes, it was all the emojis out there. Hearts, you love ancient aliens.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And watching that, I've learned over the years a lot about how the ancients use their voices, even possible. Well, if you've watched Ancient Aliens, I don't have to explain it, but how beings have come in and shown us and taught us and left light language and signs for us. And of course, using sound to lift these giant boulders and things that we could never do on our own. But that's a whole other subject. So light language is of the soul, and it's of other dimensions. Without saying, well, it's from Atlantis or Lemuria or the Pleiades or whatever, and it may be. I don't know, but it is definitely another dimension, and it is a holy thing. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to say, coming from a Christian background, mm-hmm. I learned that you did not. I was in a church where they said you don't speak in tongues. That's of the devil. So imagine when there I am at home and all of a sudden I'm, whoa. But it wasn't, and I knew it. I knew it was not. And I didn't listen to those old voices in my head that were telling me, oh, what if this is wrong, or you're being deceived, Satan can appear as an angel of light.
Right.
And I knew that wasn't true. I knew it. I knew it in my knower, Yeah. And so when I began utilizing this more and more and more, and then using it publicly, I could see, because people would come up and tell me, mm-hmm. like in the group sound immersions, they would say, that was like my mother calling me home. Or they would say, I don't know what you were saying, but I feel like in my soul, it got it. It
Yeah.
knew what you meant.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the light language. It's not me saying something. It's from this other dimension. And we can't do that. Well, I mean, we are doing it, but, consciously we can't do that because we get in the way then. Then we want to be a guru, or we want to be a wonderful light language person, or whatever.
Right. Absolutely.
But if we just let it happen, every person in that room, if there's 30 people, they all get a different message. Now, how could I do that with just singing one line? I couldn't. We can't. At least we haven't evolved to that point. So when I see that, and I've experienced that with hundreds of people, I know it's right. It's always a good thing. There's always that peace that passes understanding. I am not deceived. I know where it comes from. And it's a gift from God, divine, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. Love. It's a gift from love. So
do you find that also, I love that you went down the rabbit hole with the ancient aliens and then bring that whole full circle around to talking about light language and Lemuria and Atlantis, all the stuff that people talk about, because I think that the gift of discernment is one that is something that is a milestone when you are on the spiritual healing path. And when you have that discernment, like you said, I just knew in my soul that it was not, anything but of the light. And I know for myself experiencing that, and also being around you and experiencing other people in that space, you feel it in your body. If you ever heard someone, sing at church or anywhere where you get the whole body goosebumps and your soul is moved by that, I think is what you're talking about, if I'm hearing you correctly, that we are experiencing something vibrational that's beyond what we can interpret or communicate in language, because our language is so limited. And I know that you can express love just with a thought, and I can send you hearts in my mind visually, but there's something that happens, I think, when you can physically vibrate your vocal cords, and affect through sound that essence or the intention of what is coming through. So I'd love to hear more about what it feels like when that happens, like for you. And because I think that would be something to be interesting to have an idea of what that feels like for you.
It is kind of an out of body thing, because I envision myself as stepping out of the way. So the only time I really feel something and am really moved, or have the physical sensations, not that I haven't gotten them in group presentations or one-on-one private healing sessions, but I get like that the chills. I get like almost like with ASMR, you get that tingly feeling, but more than anything, I get a groundedness, a centeredness, and this deep, deep peace that I'm home. I'm home. And I never experienced it quite that profound and quite that deeply until I started using my voice with the sound healing. Does that help?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I know when other people, of course, you teach a class called Reiki Voice. And I know when we did some of that stuff and you were teaching some of that from people I've worked with that have gone through that experience, they say something similar where it's like their body, they do like feel a centeredness and feel like a sense of like goosebumps or tingly. And I think that's what happens when you speak truth. Like when truth happens and someone says something that's very true, you get goosebumps, like you can't fake those. It's like truth coming out of you, but in a sense for healing and intention for that. Yeah.
Or
so I'd love to hear.
teary-eyed.
Yeah, you tear up.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about the use of the voice and where you, as a sound healer, I'm sure listen very deeply. I know you, and whenever we interact, you're such a deep listener. And I'm curious about how you have learned along the way through listening to others, listening to music, listening to your own self. How do we cultivate our own, either our own interconnection with that voice, that still small voice, and how do we cultivate the ability to listen to ourselves and to hear that?
Oh, that there's a really lengthy answer, so I will try to condense it. And one of the things that I got today was from the website is harish.org, and that's HAREESH.org, and it's Christopher Wallis, WALLIS. He is a Sanskrit scholar. He has his bachelor's degree in religion, his master's in Sanskrit, and a PhD in Sanskrit. And this, that I just came across it, is what I need to share as the foundation of how I'm going to answer your question. So he wrote, over 1,000 years ago, an extraordinary work of spiritual philosophy was composed in the Valley of Kashmir. It is just 50 pages in its original Sanskrit. It is called The Essence of Recognition Philosophy, and it was written by a fully realized master known as Keshimarasha, known as the King of Contentment. And so the first sutra reads in that book, awareness, free and independent, is the cause of the attainment of everything. Now listen to that again. Awareness, free and independent, is the cause of the attainment of everything. So when you talk about paying attention and you talk about deep listening, awareness is so key.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness, and I never thought of the word awareness like this before until today that I can remember. Awareness and being willing to be aware of where you are with things, how you think about things, what's going on around you, what's going on within you. I mean, there's a lot to consider. But when we are aware, we are open to learning. We are open to seeing what is happening around us and within us, and how the two intertwine. And not only the seen and the heard and the obvious, the seen, the heard, and the obvious, but what is not seen, what is not heard, and the hidden. Now, some people call that occult, and occult is not evil or anything wrong. It's just hidden from us for a lot of reasons. Some of us aren't ready to handle it, or mankind hasn't been ready to handle it. So
hidden information.
Yes,
hidden
information. Exactly.
Yes.
It's all around us. The hidden information is everywhere. What keeps it from getting to us? Why don't we see it? Why don't we see the unseen, hear the unheard? Because there are a lot of things that get in our way, including our programming since we came into this life, and being in the third dimension and that matrix and everything that goes along with it. And the more you watch the news and TV and movies and different kinds of music, you're reinforcing their programming. That's what you're programming yourself to see and to hear. So then you can't see those other things that are of a higher consciousness. You don't have that higher awareness because it's blocked. So when I listen, and it doesn't change overnight. I've been listening to hitting gongs and bowls and chimes and so forth, and voices. Yes, I hear voices, but for many years. And when you are aware that there could be something here more than what is so obvious, you start hearing it. And that's why I love practicing sound. If you take one of these, sorry, I never know what I'm going to speak on. So if you take one of these bowls and you strike it, a lot of people, if they're not into deep listening or they don't understand what it means, can you hear that? There are a lot of notes in there, but a lot of people may only hear that, but there's a lot more. There's a lot more in there. And I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I'll just say, if anybody wants to see a spectral analysis of these bowls and all the different layers, they actually go on to infinity. Really, these bowls, they do. But Alexander Tanous, and people who are my students, they know I talk about him all the time. Amazing ethnomusicologist, one of my favorite teachers. But he has a 2.5-hour video on all of this, on sound therapy. And anyone who's seriously interested in practicing or is practicing sound therapy should know about him and should at least watch that one video. He has a lot of stuff, but it's called Spirituality, Sound, and Consciousness. Alexander Tanous. T is in Thomas. Huh?
I'm going to write it down and type it in the chat box for everybody. Is that the one that you had us all watch before your sound healing class?
Yes. Yeah. It's a prerequisite. So
Alexander Tanous. Let's spell it again for everyone.
T is in Thomas. A-N-N-O-U-S as in Sam.
Putting it in the chat so everyone can have that written out for them.
Anything you watch of his is totally correct, right, good, helpful, worth it.
May I speak on discernment for a quick second?
Yes.
So I want to speak on that because I know that, Lana, you have been doing your work for a very long time. And we have a lot of people getting into a lot of the amazing healing modalities that are out there. We need people to be interested and start to practice. I think that gift of discernment is really important, that you have that. You have such a gift with that and have shared that in the way you teach and the way you present things. And I, of course, encourage people, as you listen to Lana's wisdom tonight, especially when you were talking about listening, Lana, the more you listen in that higher awareness that you're saying you care, you kind of expand your conscious awareness, your consciousness, so you can see, feel, interpret, and interact with the world around you from a deeper level. You learn that discernment. And one of those, that's a lesson for a lot of people when it comes to expressing their authentic self, expressing their voice. But I think it's an important lesson now in particular, especially when we have a lot of information that could be opposite or maybe not correct. Yeah. And I would encourage you guys to think of that word, keep that word keep that word in the back of your mind while she's talking tonight, the discernment, because with your listening for so many years, Lana, you have really, I don't want to say mastered because they may be too much. I know you never want to ever put yourself in that place. And I know all of us out there who are looking for teachers go, they're the master, they're the guru. And you and I are on the same page that that's not what we are. That's not what we look for. We are there to teach what we've learned. But that discernment, if you are listening to what Lana's saying, keeping that in your mind going forward with anything you learn and what she's about to say about the sound stuff, because I think it's really important. There's a lot of stuff out there that could get you in a place that maybe isn't where you want to be going. So just wanted to make sure that's very clear, because I think that's a lesson for a lot of people right now.
Yeah. And I tell people you don't have to agree with me. In fact, if you don't, please challenge me, ask me, tell me.
Mhm.
I feel that's how we learn. I love learning like that. I was on the debate team in high school, so I like to debate, but not for arguing and to prove I'm right, because I need to be right.
Right.
So I learn. I love to dialogue so that I learn, and I'm okay if I'm wrong. When I first started teaching sound, the course that I took from the person, so I was taught some wrong things, but that happens. And as new information becomes available, as we receive these transmissions and we see that we're ready to receive a different kind of information, it replaces the old, and or it adds to it. Sometimes it's not necessarily wrong, but there's just so much more to it. And I found that with sound healing. And by listening, by learning from truly masters in the world of sound healing, when I listen to that bowl and I say, okay, show me, let me hear what else is in here. Or with the gongs. Oh, the gongs are just amazing. I mean, the way of the gong is truly a way of life. And we don't have time to get into that, but what you hear and what you feel and how it affects you. Yeah, you discern what's in the sounds. You discern what you're not hearing. You discern in the silence, because the silence is just as important as the sound. Yeah, I don't want to go off on that tangent, but yeah. So
when it comes to activating and getting in touch with your inner kingdom voice, I would love to hear your wisdom on that.
Okay. Everybody is that way. We all have our inner kingdom. And most of the major religions, beliefs, and so forth that I know of, and I'm not a religious scholar, not at all, but the ones that I know of, they all refer to this inner journey, the trip inside, the inner kingdom, the way, the truth, the life, enlightenment, and being able to transcend the material world while we're still living in it. And so all of this, though, comes from within. It has to. And so it's so important for us to, and most of the people I know, and probably most of the people watching and listening to this, they know you've got to do your own work first. You might say peace and love and all that, but if you're not really there, you don't help bring it about on the outside. And where was I going with that? Yes. So the inner kingdom that is within all of us, we come into this life with it. Whether you believe in reincarnation, many lives, parallel lives, living on other, star systems, whatever, it just seems inherent in the human race that, and even animals, actually, I'll throw that in, but that we have this within us. It is there. When we die, it goes on. It's what makes us us. Energy can't be destroyed. It just changes form. And so that which makes us us is in that little seed, is this powerful kingdom. And it has all the knowledge that we've ever accumulated throughout the ages. But we cover it up with filters. We cover it up with programming. We cover it up with religious beliefs. And I think everybody knows religion is not the same as spirituality. But, you know, man-made dogmas, politics, we listen to the voices as children from our imperfect parents. You can't sing, you can't dance, you can't do that. What will people think? And that's a big one. What will people think?
Right.
Comparing ourselves. I see so many beautiful light workers and healers who, you know, I get to know some of them really well, and then I'm going, oh, they have so much anger and hatred.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I've been there and done that. So, I mean, I'm not casting judgment at all. Not at all. I had, you have to go through it to learn it. You have to go through being egotistical to get over being egotistical. You know, it's, you have to heal what's within you so that you can see and be part of the healing of others. I mean, that, you know, I think, again, most of us know that. So this kingdom voice is always there, and it does play into our intuition because it tries to tell us through these codes that are all around us. They're in tree leaves, they're in the bark, they're in the tree roots, they're in our pets, they're in music, they're in our food. I mean, these codes are everywhere. Everything's energy. Okay.
So different ways that the universe could be tapping you on the shoulder, giving you bits of truth here and here and here and here. And it's just about listening.
Yeah. Listening and really listening. And then that's that part of that deep listening beyond what just, you know, you hear the song. I love that song. Okay. Now really listen to it. In music, there's a guy in the United Kingdom. His name is Simon Heather. And I haven't been looking at his work for a few years, but he did this study on intervals in music. And for the musicians listening tonight, you know what that means. But like if you have a piano and you're playing the notes like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, so if you hit C, that's 1. And then you hit E, that's a third. That's the third note up, and G is the 5th note. So all these intervals and all these different frequencies are going on in any song at any given time. And there's a reason why I can say, I love that song, I love that group, and somebody else will go, ew. Because, and that doesn't mean the music is bad and I have bad taste in music. It just means they don't need that. It doesn't do anything for them because it really doesn't do anything for them. They don't need those frequencies. They don't need those intervals. They don't like the sounds in that voice or of that instrument. So when you start realizing that it's all about love and compassion and listening and discernment, you're just don't judge. Discern, yes, but judge and condemn, throw shade, like whatever. You know, you don't do it because it doesn't even make sense to you anymore.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about the programs that we come in with, you're talking about, like, some people call it the matrix, some people call it whatever, and all the things, even what you're supposed to do as a woman versus a man, all these different roles that we are taught to play. Have you listened to, I'm going to segue into this, but have you listened to Matthew McConaughey's book on audio, the Green Lights book?
Yeah, I read it. I couldn't put it down.
So
I recommend it to everybody.
So remember the part in that book, and if you guys haven't listened to it, me and 5 stars, right, Lana? Like, great. Listen to it on audio because you hear his voice too. If you get it on audiobook, like, it's the best hearing him speak his own words. But I'm thinking about the one part in the book where he basically went to film school, and he said that a lot of people, this is about this programs, right? He's in film school, and all the people in film school are, he says, they stereotypically wear black. They're kind of like gothic, and they're kind of like a little bit cynical about, and they're all going on the weekends to watch the latest films, but they're like the indie films and the films that aren't mainstream. And they're all talking about, you know, what'd you see this week? And it's like, I went to see Die Hard, right? And they're like, oh man, that movie stinks, you know, that kind of thing. And he was like, what? And he's like, they're kind of in this group tribal program of what's acceptable in the cinematic film industry, of what's okay. And then he keeps coming back. He's like, well, I went to see this movie. And then he says, well, what's wrong with the movie? And then they couldn't tell him because he's like, well, we didn't actually see it. But like their program basically kept them in a box of what they could perceive and be aware of when you're talking about this awareness. Yeah. And when you're talking about that, I was thinking about that story because of all the programs we do have, and we don't have this particular openness that we can see or listen deeper, like you said, if we have these things that we don't even know that we're doing, especially when they're related to what's socially acceptable or tribally acceptable. So I'm curious what your thoughts are with that particular story, where he basically found out, oh, they don't even like watch this stuff. Well, it's okay. It doesn't matter what film school says. I'm going to be interested in it because that's what authentically I resonate with. Like, because you're talking about different music that you resonate with or not, what frequencies you need. What is your thoughts on getting in touch with the authentic self or your authentic voice? Because people always say, I'm trying to speak my truth. You know that saying, and speaking your truth, like what does that really mean to you as a sound healer and as someone who really isn't connected with their own inner kingdom voice?
Well, I think that a lot of our trendy expressions and phrases are a good place to start. Okay. We jump on the bandwagon with like now, the new word is collective. Everything's a collective. So, and I have the Divine Feminine Sound Healing Collective, which we started like 4 or 5 years ago. So now I'm like, I want to change the name. Everybody has it now. So, but that's okay. It is what it is. And that's me just in ego getting too caught up in what everybody thinks or so. But let me think. It's just not coming to me.
Yeah, because I think that authenticity is what a lot of people are trying to find. I want to speak my truth, but like I always think to myself, well, what is that? What is your truth? And how do you know when someone's in their truth, or how do you know when you're in your truth?
Well, first of all, there's no conflict. There's peace. If it lines up with those higher vibrations of peace and love and compassion, then it's truth. And then for you, it's your truth. Yeah, I think we can use it as an excuse sometimes to say, well, that's my truth. And if he doesn't like it or she doesn't like it, that's too bad. Okay, yes. right there, yes. Something's off.
Yes. Okay. That's why I wanted you to talk about this, Lana, because I know this is important stuff.
Well, it's hard because I've done that too.
Yeah. So, but until we have awareness, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Like you're saying, I will reiterate what Lana's saying, that we're both on the same page here. We're never saying there's something wrong with where you're at in your journey. There's something that could be perceived as like in a different level where I'm at. But I think what you're saying is when we bring awareness to something we're not aware of, we're here to bring awareness to something that people may not have aware of about themselves, especially when using the trendy phrase, I'm trying to find my truth or speaking my truth, and using in a way that maybe not in harmony with where you really want to be and they're not aware of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, it does make sense because it's like I said, we learn and I might have said, this is my truth 10 years ago is not my truth now. Right. But it was the truth that I needed then, and I needed to grow through that and learn so I could keep evolving and growing, and the truth expands. I think when something's truly truth, that it's not negated. You can build on it, or you can expand it. Mm-hmm. But if it's truth and not a lie, not a deception, not something that's false or deceitful, mm-hmm. it expands. Or like I said, you can build on it. The truth is still the truth. I think of the words of Jesus when he said, "I am the way, the truth, and the light," and it means something very different to me now than it did 30 years ago.
Right.
Not that it didn't mean back then what it meant, because it did. But now it's so much bigger. You know, like I used to say, oh, I had God in a box. And then I learned, okay, well, now the box is this big. And finally I got to the point where, oh, there's no box. You know, it's everywhere. And that our connection to that is our oneness. That's what connects all of us. And the ultimate thing is the love. And when something lines up with my truth, your truth, our truth, the world's truth, it's in a place of love. And I'm not talking about facts, like that person has a horrible life, this happened, that happened. It doesn't negate that. That doesn't mean that's not true. We're talking about more philosophical, spiritual, healing, truths. And so if someone is saying, this is my truth, and you feel almost victorious about it, like, yes, this is my truth. And sometimes, you know, you can cry about it because it feels so good. You feel the freedom. The truth shall set you free. So if you're still bound by, it's not truth. I mean, it might be true in the moment, but it's not really your truth. You're meant for higher things. You're meant for a higher calling. You're meant to live in a way that no matter what the circumstances are, you have that peace that passes understanding. You have that love and compassion for everyone, whether they're for the vaccine, not for the vaccine. Oops, sorry. I mean, you love everyone. You may not agree with their choices, but you still have that love, and you don't have the need to put them down or find fault.
Yeah.
You know, the discernment is there. You can see the problems without being ugly and mean and nasty and hateful and angry.
Yeah.
And contributing to the collective consciousness, more of that. We all need to work on our shit. Oh, I didn't say that. Oh, well, this isn't TV.
It's true. It's true, Lana.
Yeah.
It's true.
So, and
we're doing it.
I don't want anybody out there thinking anything about me that I'm so great, because, you know, I got so upset today. I mean, if you had seen me, you would have thought, well, she's demon possessed, because I lost it, you know. And sometimes it's a venting. You have to let that anger out too. There's nothing wrong with that. But how you let it out can affect the people around you in a hurtful way.
Well, you have to get real to heal, I always say. And you're getting real with your emotions and letting it out and not sugarcoating. So this is what's going on.
There you go.
Yeah, right? Get real with that.
Yeah.
Literally. Yes. And I wanted to say that when you were talking, I was thinking about what you were saying, especially when it comes to your truth. And I was curious if I read this article, and I'm wondering if you read this or heard this as a sound healer, that the easiest way for people to hear when someone's lying, like actually lying, isn't through their body language or their eyes or anything like that. It's actually through their voice. I thought that was really interesting, because maybe even if they're not like know that they're lying consciously, like they might be lying to themselves, because sometimes we lie to ourselves, you know, about what we really want, you know, that kind of thing. And I found it really interesting when you're talking about your truth in general and what that truth is, and that being a sound in which you're expressing. And if it's wavering and it's picking up in a way that's either way they look at it on a device to see what the sound wave is doing, based on when you really are in your truth and when you're speaking what is the most, you said, the most freeing, the most expansive part of you, that when you express that. I just thought that was an interesting thing. I got to find that article for you. I think it was an article. I don't know if anyone out there has heard that, the comment, because that was something I found really interesting. Easiest way to tell if you're lying is through the voice, because it wavers, you know, it wavers. It even really on a subtle level.
If you're aware and
Yeah.
if you listen for it,
Yeah.
not to put the person down,
Right.
but to establish that compassionate connection that they're not telling me the truth, and I wonder why. What's
Right.
really going on here?
Right.
Rather than, well, they lied to me. You know, I mean,
Right.
and believe me, as I said, I've been there and done that. But why are they not telling me the truth? Where's that coming from? What is in their inner kingdom that's being blocked? And really, the more pure we live, the more, the more we know and discover our own truth and line up with these vibrational frequencies that are all around us that are helpful and healing and, you know, taking the high road.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, love and compassion and forgiveness and grace and kindness, and that helps unblock us. It helps take away that wall that keeps the voice from coming out. And the voice, of course, is not just in your voice box. I mean, it comes up actually through and from your gut all the way up through. Mm-hmm. And so I did have some notes I had about a lot of things that block us from hearing that inner kingdom voice more. Yeah. But we don't really have time to get into that. So I'll just say that I think enough people understand and get it that if you're making choices that are not for your highest good, there's another one of those, then that needs to go if you want to hear more of your inner voice, that still small voice that is not shouting and screaming at you, but gently, lovingly. That voice is one of love and compassion for yourself and for all of mankind. And you know what? That reminds me of another saying. It doesn't, I want to let go of everything that doesn't serve me. How about if we all start rephrasing that to, instead of, well, I'm letting go of anything that doesn't serve me, to, how about if I let go of anything that doesn't serve humanity? Because I'm part of humanity. So that does let go of anything that doesn't serve me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I might ruffle some feathers there. I don't know. But it's something I've seen. And again, depending where people are, I look at that and I think, okay, why are they letting go of something that is going to cause a lot of people a lot of pain? Not in judgment. I'm not judging them. But, and again, that's their journey. That's their trip. It's not for me to judge or decide. But when you see, and by the time you get to be my age, you see what certain things can do. And, you know, being an earth sign, double earth sign, and very motherly, and I sometimes overdo it, and I try to say things to people like, oh no, don't do that, you know, and I have to pull back because I want to spare them. I want to spare them that hurt, and yet unless they ask me, I really shouldn't be doing that. But it comes from a place of caring and compassion, and I've had to work to get there, believe me. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of awful things in my childhood, and, you know, real abandonment, put in an orphanage, and physically abused, sexually abused, you name it. So
all the things that healers get activated to become a healer because they're trying to heal their own selves. And then once they get to the level of realizing, I've been trying to heal other people for so many years, when really I'm trying to heal myself, they have that awareness and they go, oh, and then they actually do the work, like you were talking about earlier, and then find that inner kingdom voice in a little bit deeper way. So yeah.
It's we all have that. Believe me, trust me, it is all in there. And I'm not, and be your own guru. Listen to that voice. And the more you start listening and being aware and listening for it, it gets louder. It's still a still small voice, but you hear it better. Some of those things that you work on that are blocking you, the lower frequency, the lower energies, when they start getting thinner, when those layers start getting thinner and the voice can come up through, and then you start listening to it, you hear it more and more. It's like with intuition.
Yes.
Or being a channeler, but
that's another word that's trending that sometimes can get misunderstood.
Yeah. There's so much more. Can I just sing a little light language over?
I would love to
for
hear
just like
that.
a minute. Do I have a minute?
Does anyone need? Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, if you have your microphones, turn them up, or you're on your volume on your phone or your device. This is going to be wonderful. So yes. That put me in an altered state. That's good. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Lana. Yeah, if you guys want to comment, if you guys had any, Bud, that's a good idea. He said to put on headphones to listen to that. So listen to it back. But when you said earlier, Lana, about what people say about feeling like that's something that they hear in their soul and they know what you're saying and they know what it is you're trying to say, but it's beyond. Oh no, we lost her. We lost Lana. Well, she gave us the transmission and she has left the building. Hopefully she'll get back on here, but oh, here she is. So there you are. But I was just saying what you said about getting that wisdom, that truth that you're just expressing through. I got full body goosebumps and just felt such a lightness and a remembering. So thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. And if anybody has any questions, I know we're at our limit now, so they can email me. You can reach me through the website, or because, like I said, there are things that we can do, and these light codes are all around us. They're within us, and we need to be aware so that we can unlock them and come into our fullness and be all that we're meant to be. It's hard to be joyous in these times, but the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Yeah. The light codes is anywhere that you put that awareness in, right? You're putting the awareness because that's almost like shining light into a place that you maybe had not seen before. And I honestly know that what you said at the very beginning is sometimes people are afraid of what it may be or what it is, or like you said, I know that this is not something that's bad, it's something that's good. That awareness, I think, is what we need the most, because we have a hard time discerning what's bad or good right now, and knowing, and it creates this polarization and this fear. And I think the awareness is what's going to help eradicate that.
Yeah, we're ascending, we're moving up. This is an amazing time in humanity, and it is frightening, but we're being called to let go of all that we know that has been familiar, and the old ways of doing things, they don't work anymore. But meanwhile, learning, well, what does work? And that's why we need to listen to that inner voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lana, for coming on. We're so grateful for you and our community, all the wisdom and the years of experience you've had. It doesn't matter how much we get downloaded or we channel, whatever, wisdom and that through that learning and that actual experience is really, really important, I think, at this time, so we can really reach out to you if we need to. So I would encourage you guys to connect with Lana at soundwisehealth.com. I have that website going across the bottom. You do sound immersions with your groups. You do stuff you have events, anything that's coming up that you want to tell us about?
I have the Reiki voice class. You don't have to be a Reiki practitioner to take it. That's November 21st. That's a Sunday. It's up at Reiki by Ricky in Harrisburg. And I have a limited amount of private sessions that I do here in my studio. I don't know if you can see my studio with all my stuff in it, but anyways, and at the Oneness Expo, that's coming up next weekend. I will be doing, and my wonderful associates and some of my students will be doing mini sound immersions and also a full gong immersion where we have a big gong on either end of the table, and then you lie there and take that in.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's October 6th and 7th, right? The second and third.
The Oneness Expo is October 2nd and 3rd.
Okay. Yes.
The next group sound immersion is October 10th. And the Reiki voice class, which is really, like I said, you don't have to be a Reiki practitioner, is November 21st. It's all on the website too.
Okay. Wonderful. 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 Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this Friday Night Forum. And thank you so much, Lana. If you guys have any questions, reach out, and we will see you next month, actually with Ricky Friedman. We're having Ricky on, so we'll get to talk. We're going to do a heart-to-heart Reiki chat, so that's going to be really fun. So, well, have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.